Good morning, everyone. My name is Jeff Winkler. I am the court-appointed receiver for the case Securities and Exchange Commission versus CapSource Incorporated. Today is June 11th, 2024, and it's currently 10 a.m. Pacific time. Thank you all for joining me on this call today. Look forward to providing you some information and updates about what we've been working on. Before we get started, though, I do want to give our usual disclaimers that anything that we say in this call should not be construed as legal or accounting advice. If you have specific questions about an accounting or legal issue, we recommend that you reach out to competent counsel to ask those questions. Nothing in this conversation should also be construed to say that anybody is guilty of any crimes. Of course, everyone is innocent until proven guilty or otherwise adjudicated. The entities that we come here to talk about today are primarily CapSource Incorporated and all the related corporations and LLCs. The entities, though, that are not part of the receivership, of course, are Horizon Trust, Cap West Fund, Global Biolabs, West Coast Income Fund, and others similarly situated. So I want to get in real quick and just remind everyone that, I am the court-appointed receiver in this case. I am a neutral party appointed by the court. Ultimately answer to the two judges that we work with in this case, Judge Boulware and Magistrate Judge Albrechts, and so we work for them for the benefit of all the investors involved in this case. As far as the timeline in this case goes, we are getting near towards the end of this case as we continue to liquidate the various properties involved and work towards getting payouts done to third parties. Ultimately, we do believe that there still may be a claims process and ultimate distribution that will occur after all the properties have been sold. We did request that investors send us specific questions related to what is happening in the case, and we did get a number of questions. And my intent is to go through those now, and we'll answer them to the best of our abilities and the best that we can. So the first question is, what exactly happened for this to become a receivership? So the court accused the parties of selling unlawful securities. As part of that process, ultimately it was determined that a receiver would be appointed in order to continue to liquidate and sell those properties and give the money back to investors. And so that is currently what we're doing. So another one of the questions came up is what properties are being sold to pay off the notes and the debts. So we are working on selling the remaining properties. There are a handful of properties that still remain and investments that still remain, including properties in Minnesota, North Dakota, Texas, and others, as well as loans involving some rehabilitation campuses in Arizona. Another question is regarding the amount of money that somebody has invested and not being unsure as the amount invested. If you have specific questions about your investment, you're welcome to reach out to us and we can attempt to answer those questions the best way we can. The next question is, what is the best prediction of when this issue will be resolved and investors provided remaining investment? So as we continue to work through this case, we are selling off these properties. We're doing distributions throughout the process. As far as when it will all be wrapped up and done, our hope is that it can be wrapped up, by 2025. But, there's some things that still have to happen and things that could cause that to go quicker or things that could slow down that process. And so it's impossible to say exactly when that will be done, but we do believe that 2025 is kind of the benchmark when we think that we should be able to get it wrapped up, by the end of that year. Next question, is there a support group for investors we can talk to each other and discuss what is happening to help each other and understand the court documents? I am not aware of anything, any such group that's out there, but I do encourage you, if you are curious in finding something like that, to do some research and look at various different, potential avenues of where those things may be, but I am not currently aware of any such discussion boards. Will we receive a statement detailing our original investment amount and the ultimate total funds actually paid back to us? So assuming that we do a claims process, that will be part of that, where we will look at the total amount you invested and the total amount you've been paid back and determine what, if any, claim that you still have outstanding to the estate. And so that would be the place that you might see that. If you have specific questions, again, related to your investment, please do reach out to us and we're happy to help in any way we can. Questions about defendants, third parties, what will happen to those responsible? The SEC has settled with the parties involved in the case and has sought disgorgement, and that piece of it has happened. But that is the only thing that I'm aware of at this point as far as what is happening to those responsible. Now, some questions specifically related to investments. Can we sell our shares back to CapSource? So CapSource is not able to purchase back your investments because of the receivership. And so our goal is to actually to continue to sell off these properties and then to be able to pay it back based on those funds. Let's see, another one says, currently I have 2 accounts invested in Horizon Trust. That Horizon Trust is valued at 0. Do I need to keep the accounts open for future return settlements or from ongoing litigation? If I close the accounts, will any future funds be sent to the address on file? So whether or not you keep the accounts open is ultimately up to you. I would encourage you to reach out to Horizon Trust and have that discussion with them. We would be able to, if instructed by the investor, we would be able to send funds directly to the investor. However, I would recommend speaking to a tax accountant about that, as it could have some pretty serious ramifications on your taxes. Claims and distribution process. Will I get all of my money returned, and is there any possibility of receiving interest? So in an SEC case, typically interest is not paid. It's based on money invested and money returned, and that would be your total amount of your claim in it. We do anticipate that most, if not all, claims will be paid in full. But there is still some work that has to be done in order to make that happen, including pretty large settlement with rehabilitation campuses. What percentage of my investment is expected to be returned? I just kind of answered that. We do think that most, if not all, people will get their principal back, assuming that things work the way that we think they will at this point. Why is it taking so long to release my money? The primary reason why there is, why things take as long as they do is we have to get these properties sold. The vast majority of the properties that remain are properties that are either distressed or, are not as favorable and are taking longer to sell. We do believe that we actually have a plan in place to get all of them sold. I believe we have offers on all the physical real properties that we have, and we've been in negotiations with ARC for some time. Let's see, when can I expect to get my original investment? So as you guys are aware, there is a process in place that the court established where as properties are sold or as money is received on specific properties, that we will distribute out the majority of that money within 45 days at the end of each quarter. That does continue to be the case. For example, we did sell some properties known as Meadow 78 and King 261. And those funds will be distributed out in the next quarter, so sometime around mid-August, and we anticipate that will go out. So I want to go ahead and now move on to some specific questions. I'm sorry, there's 2 other questions. Will there be clawbacks? We do not anticipate at this point that there will be any clawbacks. That is subject to change if additional information is learned, but we don't think that there will be clawbacks at this point. Why was one of my quarterly payments substantially higher than the last 2, and where does it go from here? The quarterly payments are based on specific entities. So we had been receiving monthly payments on some of the entities, and so that money would be distributed out, with the quarterly distributions, and then as properties are sold, those distributions will get paid out as well. So if you had payments that you'd normally been receiving, and then one property sold, that you may see a higher distribution in that quarter because of that. And so that's why there could be variances in what those payments look like. So here's some specific loan questions that people had. The first one is regarding Meadow 78 and King 261. Those properties were sold and closed in the last quarter, so the distributions will occur on those, as I said, around the middle of August. And so if you were involved in those properties, be looking for those distributions to occur then. Fillmore, the last interest I received for Fillmore was September 2021. What is the status of this fund or investment? So Fillmore is in a position where it was not receiving monthly payments. We ultimately had to find a different buyer for that property. We are actually in negotiations on the final purchase and sale agreement on that property, and do believe that we're moving towards getting it closed either by the end of this quarter or the early next quarter. And so we anticipate that that will get closed. Global Biolabs, what is the status of Global Biolabs? So Global Biolabs is not a receivership entity and is not under our control. If you have specific questions related to that, I would recommend that you reach out to the folks that are in charge of that. If you have concerns or information that makes you think that it should have been part of the receivership or that it should have been under other control, please do reach out to us, and we're happy to have that conversation with you and discuss that. JC Commercial, when can we expect to receive the funds from the sale of JC Commercial or JC Holdings? So that sale is actually set to close either late this week or the very beginning of next week. Assuming that it closes as we believe it will, then those distributions will go out in mid-August, pursuant to the 45 days after the end of the quarter requirements of the court. Fifth Avenue. So there were a couple specific questions related to Fifth Avenue. If you have specific questions about that entity, please just do reach out to us directly, and we're happy to assist in answering those questions. What is the realistic time frame to get this? This is ARC. So what is the realistic time frame for getting this original investment back? As I said, we've been in negotiations with ARC. There have been some things that were holding up the ability to move that forward, including an SEC investigation there. That has now been wrapped up. There also had been some, the state of Arizona had done audits on almost all the similarly situated facilities. That audit has now wrapped up, and so things are getting back to normal. And we do anticipate that we will be negotiating, what that final payout, to purchase the interest in ARC RE, and we hope to get that done either later this year or the very beginning of next year, depending on how long some of these things take. Are the ARC funds I'm receiving rent, return of capital, or something else? In a receivership, any funds that you receive from us are considered a return of capital. And so they should be treated as such. Can you provide an update on the status of the Arizona Rehab Campus's Reg D investment? General Counsel has said that the funds have been submitted for reimbursement, but I haven't received any. Also, no interest has been paid for May and June. This is the first time since I've been invested 6 years ago. So the Reg D payments that you're referring to are payments that come directly from ARC. We do understand that those payments were not made the last couple of months due to the audit that occurred. That audit prevented the facility from bringing in patients, so the revenue in the facility essentially went to zero, which prevented them from being able to make those payments. And but now that the audit is over and they begin refilling those facilities, those payments should continue or begin again in the next couple months. As far as the payment, though, that you're referring to, so the ARC RE option 3 investors and the ARC Reg D investors, there was a distribution agent set up for that. I am that distribution agent. There were funds that related to the disgorgement that was ordered by the SEC in those two facilities. The court has authorized a distribution in that case, and those distributions will be going out sometime in the next few days, actually. And so if you're involved in either of those two investments, you should be seeing a check for that sometime in the next 10 to 14 days, I would anticipate. How much longer until ARC assets are liquidated? ARC itself is not going to be liquidated. It is a going concern. If you're referring to ARC RE, the real estate portion of it with the option 3 and investors from CapSource, that facility is, or that negotiation with ARC is ongoing. That is the one that I've been referencing. We hope to be able to figure out a way to wrap it up by the end of this year or early next year, and then that would be the final asset that CapSource would have to deal with in the case. The question is, how is the ARC business doing? As I stated, there was this audit that occurred with all those similarly situated facilities. The ARC one, being one of the largest in the state, took longer than anticipated, and because of that, the number of people in the facility had dwindled because they weren't allowed to take in new people until after the audit had completed. The audit is now done, everything is fine, and they are bringing the facility back up to full operations. Prior to the audit, things were going real well, and we believed that that will continue after everything is back up to normal. A couple questions related to other specific investments. FM 307. FM 307 was a principal reduction that was done. We are in the process of calculating out any reductions that were done in the years prior to our involvement in the case to determine if investors are still owed money there. That process is not yet done, but when it is done, we will have that information ready and prepared to do a claims process if we believe that if there's still money owed and there's going to be money available for distribution. There's another question about Garden Street Holdings and what is the status of that. That is not a facility that I'm aware of or an investment that I'm aware of. So if you were invested in that and you have specific questions, please reach out to us so we can talk about that and see if there's anything there that we need to be concerned about or get involved in. Let's see, how can we be, now the next question is just dealing with communication. How can we be sure to receive emails and information from the receivership? Will you be contacting us in the future, and what kind of communication should I anticipate? So the easy answer is, if you need to get a hold of us, there's two ways to do it. You can do it via email or via telephone. The email is, of course, contact@capsource-receivership.com. And the phone number is area code 971-357-2220. That information has been pasted into the chat for you, so you can see it there. As well, if the other thing I would recommend is getting on our website, which is www.capsource-receivership.com. And if you get on there, it gives you the opportunity to reach out to us directly there as well. And so that that is the best way to get in communication with us. The only thing we ask is that you give us a day or two to respond based on the number of calls we get. When we have these types of calls, it always does lead to an uptick in the number of people that reach out to us. So it may take us a day or two to get back a hold of you. So there were a couple other questions that came in. Since I have a few minutes, I'll look at them and see if I can answer them. Is the sale considered distressed, and does it create pressure to discount the value of the property? So the answer is no. We don't work in a distressed environment. However, a few of the properties that we have are distressed properties based on their nature. For example, the investment in North Dakota, it's in an area that's a very depressed area. Property is not really selling up there. So things like that can affect the overall value of the entity itself, as well as, there could be issues related to zoning, to environmental issues, other things, that could ultimately affect that value. So, we don't work in a distressed environment. Otherwise, we go out into the open market. We attempt to get the best value possible. Now, we have been liquidating a portfolio, of dozens, if not hundreds of investments. And, these are the last remaining investments. And typically they are so because of the fact that there are various different issues related to them. And it may take a little bit longer to sell those properties. Somebody's saying that they don't have a valid contact information for Global Biolabs. We're going to see if we can't find a good contact information for them, and if so, we will post it on the website so you guys can go and access that information. Additional questions related to Global Biolabs. Again, if you have specific questions related to it, or you think that it should be involved in that process, please do reach out to us. A question about Meadows 2. I'm not actually familiar with what Meadows 2 is. Meadows 78 was the primary investment. If you have specific questions about Meadows 2 or what you believe is a separate investment, please do reach out to us because we would like to discuss those issues. What is the process for the sale of the properties? Are they listed with a third-party broker? That depends on the property. A lot of properties are listed with third-party brokers. We hire agents. We go through the normal sales process. We list them for sale. And so that's pretty typical. Where we don't usually do that type of process is where we've had it listed for years, and have not gotten any sales or any offers on it. Then we may look to, alternative ways of being able to do that. Fortunately, these last couple of properties that we've had, we've been able to find buyers that want to step in and purchase them. And so we've been working through that. And so Ideally though, we want to put these properties out on the open market. We want to sell them in the ordinary course of business because we don't want to fire sale these properties. We're attempting to get back as much information as possible. Looks like somebody asked that we just repeat the information about King 261. So Meadow 78 and King 261 were sold last month. We have received the funds in closing, and so that money will be distributed out, pursuant to the court's order on distribution. So it'll be 45 days after the end of the quarter, which gets us about the middle of August. And so those payments will go out then. Otherwise, I think that that's all the questions that we're going to be able to answer on the call. I really appreciate you guys reaching out to us. And if you have any specific questions, like I said, please do feel free to email us. Again, contact@capsource-receivership.com or area code 971-357-2220. Again, thank you very much for joining us, and please do reach out if you have questions.